And like you said, on our way here, he's still currently in Anambra State.
James
Nothing
Nwafor is a
has.
free man walking around Anambra State, living his best. He tells anybody that cares to listen that nothing will happen.
And for context, your brother disappeared under P2B, right? Obiano, the answers happened under Obiano. The panel held under Obiano. It hasn't been released. Soludo comes in. He still doesn't want to release the reports from
Yeah.
NSAS. Compensation has not been paid to the families, the 100 plus families that this happened to. When you look at this, right, and let's say, for example, one day, I mean, this may never happen, but let's say Soludo calls you, or let's say Tinibu even calls you, who knows? And let's say, God willing, your story garners a lot of, or keeps garnering a lot of eyeballs, and one day they would like to speak to you. And I understand it's a difficult position to put you in, considering that this happened to your brother. But please, if you don't mind, and haven't you've moved this over for years now, you've given it so much thoughts. Let's say Tinubu calls you and tells you that he wants you to be amongst a committee of people to discuss solutions to police brutality, right? To talk about reforms. What are your first 3, 4, 5 steps or advice or solutions to resolve this quagmire, to resolve this conflict between the police and
The
Nigerians?
first step is to look at the backlog of petitions to the police. I mean, just with the recent Mobad issue, you find out that a petition was submitted to the police that apparently the PRO says that they never got in Abuja. So we need to reform how petitions are submitted in Nigeria. Maybe start a technology-driven approach where there is a step when you send a petition, you can track how it is going and who it gets to at what time and how. Right, that's the first part of it, to know how petitions are being sent and what is being done about it. And then the second thing is to open a proper investigation into all stations across Nigeria that has been accused of police brutality. Whether it is all the stations in Nigeria, is fine. We'll investigate all. Half time, a disciplinary action should be taken, investigate all of them to ensure that we get the true story, right? Excavate police stations that have been known to be ground zeros for police brutality. Example, Akwuzu SARS. Example, Abattoir, the police station in Abuja here. Example, the police station, the SARS in Rivers State. These are police stations that need to be excavated properly to see shallow graves of people and get people closure, right? The fourth one they should do then is a proper investigation of all the current police officers. How are we recruiting our police officers? What is the recruitment process? How is it happening? We need to know. And mandatory, I didn't say conveniently, no, it's mandatory psychological checkup monthly. And if you do not have a pass mark, you're not allowed into the field, take a desk job. We cannot be having police officers going around smoking, drinking on duty. No, we can't be having that anymore. Number 5, and this is very, very important to me, demilitarize the police. There is no reason why a police officer that is at a checkpoint where there is no war, there's no reason why they should be carrying an AK-47. A pistol is fine. A taser is fine. What's it called? Pepper spray is also okay. They can have all three, right? You can have your service weapon, a pistol, but you don't have to have an AK-47 when there is no war in Nigeria. You're dealing with civilians, right? Just the threat of holding a pistol is enough to stop someone. Now, people will say, but criminals can come, and that is why we have the what they call emergency response team, which which is why we need to also activate that rapid response team to act immediately. If things are happening and they are called, they come into act. It's not an average police officer that are on the street with their AK-47 that can even do anything.
Of course, yeah.
In cases like that, we see them run, and which means that they are not equipped to do it.
Yeah.
So why are they carrying an AK-47? This proliferation of arms within the police is wrong. We need to demilitarize our police and make our police engageable. I should be able to see a police officer and ask them, I don't know my way around, I need to find my way. it's scary for people to even ask police for help. All right? So that is some of the reforms, what reforms looks like for the police. So if they call me, I'm willing to sit at that table and I'm willing to bring in my ideas on how to do this. All right? And we should actually have a correct number of the police officers we have in Nigeria. We don't know. So there are a lot of people that are parading as police officers and they are not police officers themselves. How do we know if we do not actually match police officers with their numbers, with, like, be sure of who they are? You see police officers wearing mufti, a black t-shirt, standing on the road and carrying an unmarked car. That's wrong. You must always be on your uniform. So if I see you, I know your name, I know your number, your rank, and everything. We must enforce all of this. But will they do it? No, they will not.
Yeah, because another way, you're 100% right, and I agree to all the points you made mention of. Another way I look at this is just like I look at INEC. The current constitution of the MPA, of the Nigerian Police Force, cannot resolve policing in Nigeria. Why am I saying this? Is a massive job to ask the MPF to reform itself. And that's why, for me, the only other option can only be state police in Nigeria.
Oh, but there's a police reformation and transformation office in Nigeria right now, constituted by Buhari.
Yeah, but they can't. It's like, okay,
it is not by the police. It is led by is in I think is in collaboration with UNDP and the German security agency.
Any of those guys.
So what I'm saying is that these people.
Yeah.
But the problem is that, right? Are they even allowed to implement the ideas that they have?
And to add to that as well, all of these reforms, they don't really flow down to the grassroots. So, for example, the reforms could be made. Exactly.
It should be up.
Yeah, exactly. It should be bottom up. Because for me, Abuja can say, do this. Like, for example, the IGP said, no more Mopo garden VIPs. Guess what?
But every
celebrities as of yesterday were carrying Mopo around.
But every IGP that is brought into Nigeria says the same.
But that's Mopo. It's nonsense. They say these things in Abuja in their office, but it never gets down to.
For the first 1 week, it might even happen, and then
exactly.
It's back to business.
Yeah, because for me, the American system.
Because
the federal
is us. It's not the police, it's us. Yeah. We have short-term memories. Yeah. Because if you see a celebrity with a police officer, and again, the reporting channel, you're supposed to be able to report and say, why are they walking around and carrying bags for police, for politicians and all of those things? If you really need a security, you can pay for private security.
Of course,
and then they apply for guns, and we can.
Exactly.
We need to know. The problem is that we don't.
No, but these solutions, we need to talk about it more, because in a country like Nigeria, where we have 200 plus languages, and again, I point to America. America is a perfect example of this.
Police.
That's as well,
you
because
want
it's similar.
Police?
Yeah, state police, but it's similar
to. But you see what is happening with the federal police under state government.
No. But my solution is this, right? The American system, you have the FBI, right? And when the FBI comes in, they take over the case. State police hands off, right? So have the same in Nigeria. Call it any name you want to call it, equivalent of FBI. But Anambra Police, for example, has its own police force, independent of Abuja. Rivers has their own. Kaduna has their own. Katsina has their own. Each of these states has their own independent police, just like in America. NYPD for New York, Florida for their own. And what that does is this, right? When Ezu River happens, we don't need to point to Abuja. We know who did Ezu River, the governor of the states. If you have state police, for example, right, and you know that police killed 50 young people, we already know who we are going to point our fingers at. That's the governor. You're the one that caused it. So you have to sack your commissioner of police, or investigate him, or try whatever. But the point is, we don't need to start pointing fingers like NSAS. We don't need to start pointing fingers like, who ordered the killings? No. We know that maybe he was the governor of the state, and we know you're in charge of the police in Lagos State. So whoever fired the gun or whatever, that's your police force under your state. And what also he does is he makes it easy to train these guys. It's difficult training thousands of police officers. It's very hard. So this thing talked about doing psychological tests, right? The CP of the state police of whatever police force is in charge every week or every month or whatever. You do it irregularly so that they, you just turn up and be like, pee in this bottle. Let's take a sample of your pee. I know this thing because I work in this field in a way, security field. So I know how you can do these things and
Yeah,
try and get these
I
guys.
agree with you
So
to an
it's
extent.
easier for you to do that thing, for you to train them, equip them. So for example, when a police officer takes a gun from the armory, for example, you know what gun they took, you know what kind of bullet they took as well. It's easier for you to know these things, but when it's on a federal level, it's very hard. It's very difficult for you to know. So for me, I think as Nigerians, we need to have this conversation around what is the best way to, not to do it in a way whereby we mend it halfway.
I get you.
But a 180-degree turn. That
360
we
actually.
Exactly. No, but 360 is like you go back to again to where we were.
Yes, we need to, like, we are going
But-
back to ground zero.
Yeah.
And then we are starting from bottom up, like
Yeah,
you said.
exactly.
I agree. And I have advocated for state policing for a while. But if I look at what governors are doing,
But they're already doing it under the federal police.
yeah,
They're already doing it.
I'm extra scared of the powers
Yeah.
that they might have, right? See, again, even a federal police like we have can have all this reformation if we begin to do what the police, I'd say that they would do. According to the Police Act, every crime that is committed under a police officer, the supervisory police officer is also responsible.
Yeah.
So if a police officer shoots someone in Anambra State, the CP is also responsible.
Yeah.
So if the man is being punished, the CP is being punished. But it's all talk and no action.
Of course, yeah.
And I don't think that anything that we are saying here are novel ideas. They're not.
You're right, yeah.
The politicians know it.
Yeah.
So who is going to bail the cat?
I think to Obi's defense, I know he talked about state police, and that's one of the things I
Yeah,
liked
he
about
also
what he
did
said.
state policing somehow in Anambra State when he was the governor.
community policing,
He did
yes.
community policing,
Yes.
got the communities involved and
Yeah.
all. But then another problem that comes with things like this also is the human effects. Example, when people begin to lie against their neighbors because
Yeah,
they
yeah.
want the
No,
police
we
to
don't
carry
want
them and all
that.
of
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
exactly.
So that comes also with
Yeah,
community
yeah.
policing. That was one of the harms that community policing did in Anambra State. We had people lying unnecessarily against their neighbors and saying that
Yeah.
they are criminals and all. People that have issues with someone over land will go and say
Yeah,
that the
yeah,
son is a criminal, they should arrest and kill him and all
Yeah.
of those things. But then also is emblematic of the problem with the police. If someone was said to be a criminal, arrest and investigate.
Yeah.
And if it's not true, you release the person. And
Exactly.
people who give false information should
Yeah.
be prosecuted also. But you see,
Yeah, because the way I look at it is this, right? Anambra State, for example, or even any other states, Abuja says to this Yoruba guy who has never spoken Igbo in his life, never ever spoken Igbo, doesn't know how Anambra is, doesn't know how Imo State is,
Yeah.
doesn't know the community wranglings or the politics in Imo State to Anambra
it all
State.
comes down to trying to unite all of us.
It
and
makes
trying
no
to- yeah,
sense.
I get you, but like they're trying
I'm
to.
not
want to
being
get-
tribal though. You
I
can
get
take an
you.
Igbo man as well who doesn't speak Yoruba or Hausa,
And
who has
send
never
them to
been
the
to
north.
Kaduna State or Katsina, and you take him to the north. It makes no sense. He doesn't
Yeah.
know how the north works. Like for example, myself, I've not been to most places. I don't know how the north works.
So you have
can't
to,
tell
like,
me to
learn-
go.
and you cannot learn on the
learn
job.
it.
It's not a job that- it's not a job you learn on,
possible.
yeah.
You can't. You're putting lives at risk. So the best thing is to tell the Kaduna man who has lived in Kaduna State all his life, tell him to lead the police in his states. Same to that Anambra person. You know Anambra politics. You know the family politics. You know what families are not talking to what families. You know how the politics works. You're the best person to solve Anambra police issues. You're the best guy, but not the Yoruba guy or the outside guy or the Efik. Or same again applies the other way. You can't tell an Igbo man who doesn't know how the language works, who doesn't know the community wranglings in the north or all the Fulani or Hausa or all those things. They cannot solve
or even
it.
the culture. So
Exactly.
you go and say something or do something, and it's
Exactly.
totally wrong.
Like as you know in our language, for example, you can say one thing that will mean this, but in a different way, format, in a different context. So it's an impossible task. That's the point I'm making. Like it's apart from having this idea of state
The
police.
president doesn't have to do this, right? The president doesn't have to lead this conversation.
No, of course not. The state
Legislators can start.
yes.
Put out a bill for
Yeah.
state policing, and then
Of course.
they pass it within the state
Yes.
Senate and the House of Rep. It goes to the
Yeah,
to
because
president
it's
for
even-
assent,
yeah.
and you can always lobby the president to
Of
assent.
course.
Well, again, his willingness to act.
Yeah. We lack our political elite, they lack the will to do the right thing.